Okay guys, today we have the final board from this, let's say, small series of ASRock motherboards. Today we're going to talk about another X570 AMD second and third generation support motherboard, which is the Pro 4. Now this one is ATX version of the X570M Pro 4, and we'll see does it have some different specifications, of course, except for this size. It does have dual Hyper M.2 for your SSDs. It does have the XXL aluminum alloy heatsink, full coverage for the M.2, the heatsink, and it has the steel slot for your PCI Express. This is the 4.0 x 16 as well. Now the dual USB 3.2 generation 2 Type C plus Type A, Polychrome RGB and whatnot. So let's open the box, check it out. We're going to do a build, of course, we're going to run some tests, but let's check the box content. You have one screw for the, well, two actually screws for the M.2, three actually screws, and you have two SATA, I think there's only two. Yeah, you have two SATA connectors. One is angled, so that's okay. DVD for drivers. You have the plain silver IO shield, IO cover, which I usually, well, I don't like it. It could have gone with a different color, as I said, on the X570M Pro 4 as well, but at least it has this kind of dampening on the inside, so that's okay. I'll let it go. And you have one standoff as well for the M.2 and the quick installation guide for your motherboard. So let's leave it at that. We don't need all of these parts, we just need the IO shield for later on installation. And let's check out the design. I mean, it's basically the same as the X570M Pro 4, but it's different. And I'm not saying only because of the size, it has something different that I noticed, and I said that as a bit of a negative thing for the Steel Legend as well, but you'll see very soon. So basically you have the one 8-pin EPS connector right here at the top, you have the 24-pin, the DDR4 RAMs go up to 4066 megahertz in OC. You have the steel PCI slot, you have another PCI slot here right underneath, 6 SATA ports, USB 3.2 generation 2 with Type A and Type C. You have an RGB connector, you have the addressable RGB connector, you have another RGB connector, so I'll just do it quickly. RGB 12 volts 4-pin, addressable RGB 3-pin 5 volts. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4, 5, okay. We have 5 PWM connections for your fans, and what else? This is the HD audio. You have 2 connections for your front USB 3.2 generation 1, you have one USB 2.0, and you have 2 additional SATA ports here as well. When it comes to, this is a cool thing, they added M.2 Wi-Fi on each board, so this is really nice if you want to, you know, if you were living in a room like I am, where my main router is somewhere in another room and you have to pull like 20-30 meters of internet cable. You can just place the Wi-Fi M.2 Wi-Fi connection right here, and that's all there is to it. One M.2 is right here at the top, and one is at the bottom as it is on every other motherboard. Now, so far the only difference from the X570M is that the M.2 armor is separated from the heatsink of the south bridge where you have the active cooler, so it's kinda easier to access it. You don't have to remove all the passive things right here, but it's right beneath the PCI Express slot, so you do need to remove your graphic card. I mean, there's no way to place it anywhere else, so basically this is quite alright. And the design is basically the same. When it comes to I/O ports, we have 6 USB 3.2 generation 1, you have the HDMI, you have the DisplayPort, you have, as I said, USB 3.2 generation 2 Type A and Type C, RJ45 connection for your internet, and you have 3 colored 3.5mm jacks for your audio. That's about it when it comes to visual aspects, connections, and all the specifications that this motherboard has. Now we're going to place it in a build, of course, and run some tests. So the tests are done, and here are the results for the X570 Pro4 ASRock motherboard. You can see here the AIDA 64 cache and memory benchmark. We have the stock without XMP turned on. We are using the AMD 3600X, which is automatically overclocked at 4.375 GHz, which is quite alright, lower than Steel Legend. I think it's even lower than X570M Pro4, but okay. And here you can see the read-write speeds, L1, L2, L3 cache, and you can see the latency. Now when we go to the AIDA 64 cache and memory with the XMP turned on at 3000 MHz, talking about the RAMs, you can also see that the automatic overclock on the CPU is a bit higher. It's working on 4.4 GHz. Now you can see with 600 MHz difference, the read-write speeds are up, but not that much as it was on the other motherboards. Now talking about the Cinebench R15, you can see the OpenGL is currently working with higher FPS, but that is most likely based on, well, that is definitely based on the GPU, so we get a higher score. Then we go to the other Cinebench benchmarks. As you can see, the CPU in multi-thread gets 1620 Cinebench points, which is a bit lower than on Steel Legend, as you can see, by 13 points. And when we talk about the single core benchmark on Cinebench R15, we have by 1 point more than on the Steel Legend. Here you can see all the information when we talk about CPU-Z from CPU, motherboard, cache and memory, and as you can see here, the automatic overclock is basically almost 4.4. Also in AIDA 64 GPU benchmark, you can see the CPU when it goes with memory read, memory write, memory copy, and the flops, IOPS, and other benchmarks. So comparing to the Steel Legend and the X570M Pro4, we didn't get that much of a difference. It's more similar to the X570M Pro4 than to the Steel Legend, because after all, the Steel Legend is a bit more quality board than the Pro4. But definitely I wouldn't degrade anything else about the X570 Pro4. It's just ATX version of the M version, of course, and still a good board. If you're going for a really budget motherboard that still has some extra kicks left inside, like with aluminum alloy heatsink, the huge XXL, if you want the passive cooler on the M.2, you can overclock the memory quite alright with turning on the XMP profiles in BIOS. As I said, on the Steel Legend and the X570M Pro4, the BIOS is actually really intuitive and very consumer friendly, so you can actually manage anything through it, including your RGB Polychrome sync. So guys, yeah, I think this is another board that definitely needs to be placed in the ranks of, I would say, medium range motherboards with a nice price that basically everybody can afford to compare and to add a nice AMD CPU from 3rd generation. If you're looking for a nice budget build that will contain an AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, you can nicely pair it up with the ASRock X570 Pro4, or maybe if you want to go with the M version, the Micro ATX, then you have the X570M Pro4. Differences are very little, and I would say the only thing that is very noticeable is the size. Thank you for watching. Links are below for the ASRock X570 Pro4 motherboard, so you can check out the prices and some other specs that I might have missed. And definitely don't forget to click the like and subscribe button, because, well, see you next time with new reviews, mods, and whatever I come up with. Thanks and bye bye.